After about 3 weeks of testing out games on the Powkiddy X18S, I feel like I've covered enough ground to make a final thoughts video. As you've seen on my channel, I've been making videos as I've gone along doing the testing out PSP, Nintendo 64, Dreamcast and Saturn, and GameCube games. And there should be enough footage on my channel to help you decide whether you should buy this handheld or not. There's also longer versions of the gameplay on my second channel, GymRPG2, so go over there and check out that channel. In this video, I want to do a quick recap on the device as well as tie up some loose ends that I haven't mentioned before. The Powkiddy X18S launched at the end of September 2021 and it was touted as a next-gen handheld by both Powkiddy and by enthusiasts. The specs shown were impressive: a Unisoc T618 processor, which is an 8-core chip with 2 A75 cores at 2 GHz and 6 A55 cores at 1.8 GHz. This is good enough in theory to play PSP and Dreamcast games, which many of the previous handhelds released weren't really capable of. There's also a 5.5-inch IPS 720p display, 4GB of LPDDR4 RAM, 64GB of internal storage, and a 5000 mAh battery. In my first impressions video, I talked about the build quality, and after about 50 hours of using the device, most of my opinions haven't really changed since then. The final verdict is that the build quality in general is fine, but is that really good enough? The case itself is pretty sturdy, and I like the look of the top of the device here. And if you're just using the analog stick and face buttons, the system is pretty nice to play on. But I think there are a lot of disappointments as well, because this could have been an outstanding device. The clamshell form factor is actually a little difficult to hold. It's nice and compact, but using the analog stick and triggers makes it feel a little bit cramped. As discussed already, the D-pad here is too shallow and diagonals are unresponsive. The analog sticks also feel a little bit slow at times, particularly in fighting games, especially if you have to do something like forward to dash. And there's a bit of a dead zone in the center where I must have died about 30 times in a Splinter Cell tutorial because I wasn't able to walk quietly. But for casual play, I think it's fine. One thing I mentioned already is that the quality control is a little bit uneven. For example, my screen is crooked and some people have had shoulder buttons stuck as well. If you do get the X18S, I do recommend putting another launcher on the device. The stock one is passable, but the one I'm using, ATV launcher, works great. The 5.5-inch screen has some good and bad points. It feels amazing to play PSP games on a screen this size at 3x resolution. I was totally blown away playing Outrun 2006 at 60 FPS. It looks like an HD remaster. It feels amazing to move all of our old retro games into HD. The screen isn't perfect though. It does feel like it's a bit dim and also not very vibrant. I'm not an expert on screens, but I'm guessing the color gamut on this is fairly low, maybe something like 70% NTSC or below. Here's an Ambilic RG351P, and you can see the color difference between the two. It seems the sky in the RG351P is more blue, while in the X18S it's more purple. One thing I haven't mentioned is battery life. Playing GameCube and PSP will get you around 4 hours at full brightness of the screen. There's also a bit of a problem with battery drain. If you leave the device on and the lid closed overnight, you can easily lose most, if not all, of your battery charge. So I highly recommend turning off the device before you go to bed. Hopefully Powkiddy can fix this issue through a firmware update. A new custom firmware, Lineage 18.1, soon to be released, will fix this issue. In terms of temperatures and comfort in holding the handheld, the processor can get a little hot, but I would not say it's any worse than the Switch. An iPhone with the camera on would be much worse. As you know, I've made videos on each of the systems looking at a range of games. The best thing about the X18S is that it's great at playing games. It plays most, if not the whole, PSP and Dreamcast library. Saturn and Nintendo 64 are good as well. And GameCube, it plays about 50% of the games, so it's fine, but don't expect it to work as well as the other systems. I also didn't have time to try out DS games and Android games very much. DS games is very much going to depend on whether you like playing multi-screen games on a single screen. At the end of the day, PSP is absolutely the reason to get this device because of the 16:9 screen. There is a case to be made for the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus at $100 with its 4x3 3.5-inch screen. If you don't care for PSP, Dreamcast and Nintendo 64 will look really great on that handheld, and I don't think you'd lose too much in screen space. If you want a 16:9 screen, you could get the upcoming Retroid Pocket 3, and it shouldn't cost too much more. Or you could consider the Ambinic RG552, an upcoming handheld for about the same price as the X18S that should play PSP comfortably, but with a slower processor might not play GameCube. Or you can get the X18S, which will crush PSP and Dreamcast, but lacks a little in the build quality. I can't give you a definitive answer because the other systems just aren't out yet, but the Powkiddy X18S, I had a lot of fun with this one. That jump up in performance is something really special. I think if you're buying multiple systems, I think there is room for a X18S, but if you're going to buy one system, I think maybe it'd be better to wait a little bit and see what happens when the other systems come out. That's it for this one. That's going to be the final Powkiddy X18S video for a little while. Make sure to hit the like button if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel for more gaming videos from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.